Good evening, everyone. It's about 10:30 at night. I just finished doing some schoolwork. The kids are asleep. I said I was going to drop it last night or tonight, and I didn't get around to it last night. Had a lot going on, and I did not want to go to bed tonight without dropping this gem that my bestie asked me to touch on. And so she wanted me to discuss anxiety and depression. And let me tell you, chronic depression and chronic anxiety is not good. But it's good to feel anxious, and it's good to have some of those moments because it reminds you that you're human. Most time we think we are super people, that we got to do everything. We got to, figure it out. We don't allow ourselves to feel any type of emotions. And so when it starts to catch up to us, it's like, oh God, like the alarm's going off. But let's be honest, how many of us have skipped those red flags that our body was telling us that we were starting to get depressed or we were starting to get anxious, like we didn't want to do the things we used to do. We don't have the energy, we're tired, our mind's always going, we can't sleep, we can't have like any mental peace. So our body was already telling us, like, hey, you need to like kind of pipe down. Let's address what I'm feeling, um, before we keep trying to move on. So, if this is your first time listening, I am not licensed as of yet. I am currently obtaining my master's degree in mental health counseling. What I'm doing every week is just dropping gems that I learned from school, topics that people ask me to if they want to address. I just want to share things because let's be real, it's 2025 and I can speak for myself. I can't speak for nobody else. But my mental ain't been right since 2019, since the pandemic. Even in children, they've been more depressed. It's a lot more suicide rates. It's a lot more bullying. Like ever since COVID, life just been life and even harder than it was life and before. So I just want to drop these gems. They may be for you, they may not be for you. So let's get into it. And of course, I have all my notes on my computer because I can't, my mind, I be forgot half the stuff I'm going to say. So, first, let's define what anxiety is. Anxiety is a persistent feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease about a certain outcome. It can manifest physically by racing heart, restlessness, mental and mentally mental fear. Let me put it like that. People have been diagnosed with GAD or generalized anxiety disorder, where chronic anxiety interferes with everyday life. From the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, you're anxious. You can't do anything because you're just so anxious. So let's define depression. Depression is a mood disorder that's marked by persistent sadness, hopelessness and loss of interest in activities. It affects how people think, feel, function. Clinical depression lasts for weeks or longer and may require treatment. Relating this to grief is often situational and can be tied to a specific loss. So we were talking about grief and how it affects our lifestyle because we're grieving, um, and we don't know. Sometimes we don't heal properly like we should. We don't allow ourselves to heal properly. So, anxiety and depression are factors that affect our lifestyle. They can affect our day our day to day, and that would lead to other things like trauma, substance abuse. I can't, because of HIPAA, I'm not telling nobody's names. I'm not even going to tell the name of the place. But I used to work at a place that did substance abuse and mental health disorders. So they were like, one floor had people that was there for um, rehab. Like they were coming off the drunkenness, the meth, the crack, the coke, whatever the drug, whatever they used, they were coming off. They would have withdrawals, and then you had other people that were there because they were bipolar, schizophrenia, um, whatever mental um, battle that they had going on. And sometimes you had people that had both. They had a dual because what their disorder was fueling their addiction. Um, like they could not, they would go and get drunk because they were depressed, or they were anxious, or they would do drugs because they were grieving and they didn't know how to allow themselves to grieve. They had to latch onto something, they had to be codependent, something had to help them. So when it gets to the point where both of those have intersected and you can't tell them apart, you can't tell the underlying cause of either your grief, I mean, not your grief, I'm sorry, your depression, your anxiety, your substance abuse, your trauma, because sometimes while you're going through things, you can cause trauma for yourself and other people because you are not yourself when you're grieving, when you're going through substance abuse, when you're depressed. You because you're battling with yourself, and sometimes you lash that out to people subconsciously. Like people try to get close to you, you push them away, or you're angry all the time, or you're frustrated. It affects your family. And let's be honest, it can affect your kids if you have them because they feel it. And it's not that you're purposely trying to hurt them, it's that you just don't know how to figure it out. And they need you, but right now you're trying to need yourself. They say it's a saying that you're trying to pour from a cup that's empty because you have poured, and now you're like, okay, now I have to face this. I have to face whatever it is that's bothering me head on. I don't have access to my alcohol. I don't have access to whatever leech that I need that helps me shake it anymore. So now I got to sit here face to face. How do I handle this? So I just wanted to touch, and the reason I'm tying this with grief is because, like I said, I'm not mentioning no names, none of that. But the reason that I'm tying it is because this person has went through a lot of loss, a lot of grief, a lot of heartache, and this person truly did not feel like they had a soul that understood what they were going through. On top of being a parent, on top of trying to set that example for their kids, like they truly battled with themselves, with the love they had for themselves, with how they viewed themselves. It was truly a daily battle. So I'm tying it because when you grieve, it's natural. It's a natural response to love, to any type of loss. It could be a job, a loved one. It could be a sense of self, how we view ourselves. Especially women after we have babies and our bodies don't go back straight away, and we're like, oh God, I don't feel the same about myself. I'm bigger now. I used to look like this. Now I'm looking like this. I'm too busy being a mom. I don't get to dress up like that. I'm more in pajamas. Like we lose ourselves, and this can happen to men too because they're trying to provide, they're trying to work, so they get so lost in working and being that parental head of household if they are a parent. They get so tied up in who they are that they don't get to address their feelings and emotions because old people say men don't cry, which to me is just a bunch of baloney because men have every right to cry. It doesn't make them less of a man. It just shows that they're human. And then they get with a woman that's like, okay, you can be okay with me, and they don't know how to express themselves because they've always been told they not to, or they always been with a woman in a situation to where they couldn't because being honest, women can be petty sometimes. They will take every situation that a man going through and use it against them. So men feel like, okay, I can't be my emotional being. I have to just keep pushing. So that causes a lot of anxiety and depression as well. So depression and grief is like sadness, withdrawal, hopelessness, fatigue. It's situational depression, so it may go away after some months, years, stuff like that. But when you have anxiety and grief, it's you scared of the future. You don't want to be alone, or you just don't want to lose any more people, or you don't want to lose anything else in your life. So you're dealing with those pre-anxiety traits that's already there. Grief can trigger or intensify mental health conditions, especially if you have a loss that's traumatic and unresolved. So let's talk about what type of theories and concepts we can use for this. So, of course, I go to Alfred Adler, Adler University. So, his individual psychology offers a lens on the connection of anxiety, depression, and grief. Adler believed that all humans strive for belonging and purpose. When you have a loss, your depression, you have anxiety, it can disrupt this striving for significance. Grief can challenge a person's core beliefs and lifestyle patterns. If you take Adlerian therapy, it can help explore how your early experiences or early recollections can shape your response to loss. Your social interests, you start isolating yourself, but the key to restoring that connection is to actually restore your social interest. Is to help you heal. So, going out, being around people, or being around the right people, let me say, can actually heal you. Encouragement as a counselor in training, I want to help my clients to rebuild their self worth and move forward after a loss or after a trauma or dealing with anxiety or depression. So, we didn't even talk about this in the last video about the 5 stages of grief, like denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. First, we deny, like this not happened, that's not can't be real. Then we're mad because the person that left us, we didn't lost our job, we didn't whatever, however the loss has affected us personally, we're mad about it. Then we're bargaining. You ever people bargain with God? God, if you can just fix this, I'll do better. I'll move better. I'll be a better wife. I'll come to work. I'll be a better person. And then you just get depressed because you realize that the loss is there. It's not going to change. It's not going to reverse. And then you accept it. Acceptance is hard because nobody ever wants to accept anything, but you have to get from that depression stage, because it will eat at you and it will not allow you to be that person that you need to be. Trauma and grief overlap can be flashbacks, avoidance, cultural and personal differences. Not everybody grieves the same way. Personality, upbringing, social support all influence how we experience grief, trauma, depression, anxiety. So you have to be mindful too, especially if you're friends with somebody from a different culture. We have to be mindful of what we say. Just me and my husband are from 2 different cultures, and it was hard. And we still have our moments because where he's from, my husband's from Trinidad, they talk hard. Like they talk, and I'd be like, I would get in my feelings. I'm like, why are you talking so well to me? Like, what's going on? But it wasn't that he was doing it on purpose. That's just how he is. And then me, I'm on the other. I'm like, I get irritated, and then I want to just like snap because I'm mistaking how he's saying it by his tone. So it's definitely something to work on. That's why I said me and my husband's going to do a role play. He agreed to do it with me. And I want to just show you guys like the difference in how our responses can affect. Because believe it or not, how you treat a person that's anxious and depressed and going through a grief or trauma or substance abuse, all of that can stick. Like I have said some things and he has said some things to me that we did back when we first started dating over 5 years ago. And I still remember that. And he still remembered too. So your reaction to what a person's situation is everything, especially if you're supposed to be their support system. a lot of times we want to impose our views, our thoughts, our feelings, but sometimes we just need to let that person go through the motions. And sometimes we don't even need to say anything. They didn't ask us for advice. Sometimes the best advice is none. It's just being there, letting them cry, you know, handing them a margarita, just being there, just being that shoulder, because sometimes that's all you need, because it's not any words that can fix certain situations. So you don't want to say things worse, because once you say it, you can't take it back. And we don't want to give people advice. We can give them guidance. We can ask questions for them to figure it out. But we don't want to give people advice. Because if we were in that same situation, we don't know what we would do. So I am going to go and indulge deeper on this topic. Like I said, I'm going to do a role play. I asked my husband to get with me, so we'll probably do it tomorrow evening. Once the kids are down, we'll do a role play. And I just want to show you guys the effects of how what you say, your body reactions, your tone, and all of that can affect the conversation. I think some people can hear me, but when you visualize it, or you're like, oh God, I know somebody that does that, or oh God, I know somebody that talks like that, it becomes more real. And as a counselor in training, I want my clients to put me out of a job. My job is to get people's mental health to that level of confidence where I don't even got a job no more. That's my purpose. That's what I want to do. So I thank y'all for rocking with me this late. I usually don't go this long because I know people have, be in and out. And plus I'm on my phone. So when I do get another camera where I can record longer footage where it doesn't, be on my phone, I'm going to do that. But right now I just like dropping these little gems. If you like this, please comment, react, tell me your thoughts. I'm open to it. I hope y'all have a great night.